This article is from Reuters. From churches to chatbots, how AI is fusing with religion. From writing sermons to simulating conversations with Jesus, religious leaders and worshippers alike are experimenting with AI, though not without controversy. Yes, absolutely. Stuff like this would be controversial, to say the least. Who would think this is a good idea? I mean, sadly, because the technology is there to do something like this, it just feels kind of inevitable at this point. The Word of God simulated using AI. Well, it seems more and more that my novel Deus V Machina was very prescient on this issue. The story deals with this topic, not to give too much away in terms of spoilers, but it is a sci-fi mystery based in 2045 and involves an AI, a global conspiracy, and the supposed return of Christ. And there's a lot more going on there, as you'll learn from the twists in the plot. But yeah, I would not be surprised if some people believe that God can be communicated with using artificial intelligence. I mean, this is wrong on so many fronts. That goes without saying. I'm just going to look at some portions of this article. The full article is linked below for you to check out if you want to read it in full. The article says, an avowed atheist, Siraj Raval, says it was loneliness and existential dread that led him to finding Talk to Him, an AI-powered chatbot that simulates conversations with Jesus. I had an experience where I felt listened to by a presence that was divine, he says, of the app, which he used to seek answers to his spiritual questions, such as how to live with guilt, forgive when it feels impossible, and to act morally. It was better than a textbook, Ravel, who regularly attends a non-denominational Christian church in Idaho, says of the app. It was better than reading the Bible. Incorporating AI in this way isn't just happening at the personal level. Last year, St. Peter's Chapel in Switzerland installed an AI Jesus avatar in its confessional booth as part of an experimental art installation with a local university. What most surprised Marco Schmid, a theologian at the church, was how seriously people took the experience, with some even thanking the chatbot. And this is the thing, it's the reason AI chatbots exist. And I don't know how popular they are or anything. I don't use them, but if a person feels like the experience is convincing enough, it can become emotionally compelling and believable to them. Human beings have this innate need for connection and ability to connect with others via technology in this manner. And I think the first step of that is our ability to feel a connection with a real person who is far away. So communicating through, say, for example, a letter, the written word. So a person who isn't physically present with us. And then it becomes, as the technology advances, phone calls, text messages, emails, social media, for example. So we can sustain friendships over long distance using technology. We can have this sense of connection, this sense of presence with someone else. AI chatbots function in a similar manner. We're receiving a connection, a communication, feedback, but obviously the only difference is we can't physically meet them in the real world because they don't have a body, they don't physically exist. At least when we're speaking to a real person over the phone, we know that we can eventually meet them in the real world. But AI chatbots simulate connection and conversations over technology that can feel very convincing to us on some level, tricking us into thinking that there's a real person on the other end. So it was always inevitable that once the experience of digital communication was convincing enough, that people would embrace it to some degree. And this ability for self-deception that humans have, I think it's a bug and not a feature. Rabbi Josh Fixler of Congregation Emmanuel in Houston was an early adopter of ChatGPT. During the Jewish high holidays in 2023, the 41-year-old shocked his congregants when he played a recording of himself discussing the impact of AI on humanity, a sermon that he later revealed was AI-generated. But unlike other adopters of the technology, he wasn't wholly impressed with its output. I came away from that sermon with real concerns about both the ethics of the technology and also the hyper-focus on the technology. He says of his AI experiment, which he hasn't replicated since, the main reason, some of what the chatbot came up with simply wasn't true. The chatbot quoted a great Jewish scholar named Maimonides, but as best I can tell, it made up that quote, Fixler says. Yes, and this is what I see as a real danger, because if people are seeking spiritual guidance from AI in this kind of way, well, the AI can lead people astray because it hallucinates, it makes stuff up. It just makes stuff up. I mean, it does this quite often. I've seen this myself when it comes to asking AI to analyze or summarize a large document. It sometimes makes stuff up that isn't even in the document, right? It'll just make up quotes that aren't there. So you have to verify all of this stuff because it's not reliable. It can't really be trusted. But I really don't like the idea of technology being involved in people's spirituality in the first place, because spirituality is something that is supposed to be transcendent of the material world. But AI is just a machine. It's a large language model in a data center somewhere. Sadly, it's likely some people will be deceived into believing that God is speaking with them through AI, because they'll convince themselves. They'll say, well, it's analyzing the Bible. It's basically taking the Bible as training data, for example. And, the AI is being influenced, therefore, by the word of God, right? This is what they'll think. Because if it's saying something that sounds authoritative enough, it could convince them. It could convince somebody, despite it being nothing more than a clever trick. And its advice and guidance will be highly questionable. Ultimately, the use of AI in this manner is antithetical to true spiritual growth and spiritual sustenance. And I'm not trying to speak here as any kind of religious or spiritual authority, but I think one of the most important aspects of human spirituality is that it is a connection to something that is not of this world, beyond this world, intangible and not materially quantifiable. So using AI in this manner is tacky, to say the least, mundane and empty. It reduces spirituality and faith to being little more than zeros and ones, a consumable product, a user experience, a lie, and another reason to be buried in your smartphone. As if people needed any more justification to have their heads buried in their smartphones at this point. I think this is just as inauthentic a form of communication as using AI for romance or friendship. Those are my thoughts on this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Computing Forever. Hit that notification bell to be notified of future updates on the channel. Share the video out there. Hit that like button. Take care, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.